How you doing this evening, bro?
Man, I'm so good, bro. My boys with me. Been
All
chilling
right.
all week. Yeah, man, feeling good. How about things your way?
I'm good. I'm good. I missed you, I have to say.
But I tend to have that effect on people.
Yeah, I was down, but I'm back.
Yeah, I
Thoughts and
heard you.
prayers.
Yeah, I heard you out there cutting up on your other little things. You was out there cutting up.
Yeah. Oh, you watch the other man, every time I come on the air with you and I go on the air with Dr. Ball, he's always using the things you say to and about me as ammunition against me. Well,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, how many times have he said to me, that's why Skipp, that's why Skipp had to check you. That's why Skipp touched you out.
I don't know, man. I
You
um,
do know.
I don't, bro. I just,
Yeah,
man.
let's just do the show and get out of here. See, I
All right,
thought
bro.
you Lord, man, listen, pick a side, pick a team.
I ain't
That's
with
all
one
I'm telling
team,
you.
man. Side or right, bro. I
Oh,
mean,
that's
that's
what I
some. Look, there's something I learned. I learned from you, man. Like I really enjoy the platform though. Like I really do. Like that sister Coco is so sharp. Her analysis is just so structured in a way that like she just presents it so disciplined. I
So
love
you
it,
cool
man.
with all my enemies.
I mean, they your enemies though.
No, no, they're not.
Yeah, I was about to say, bro, because like on the cool, so like I'm in a bit of a situation now. Like um, it's very easy for me to draw a line.
Huh,
Um, so like once you on the other side of that line, I mean,
right.
you just over there. Like ain't no really coming back from that. All the sorries in the world.
Yeah, certain things you just don't do. Yeah, I don't. No, they're not enemies, but
That's a real
sometimes
nice
you.
cardigan you got on too, bro.
Oh,
Like that's how
thank
you
you.
feel. You know what I'm saying? And you look like you
Well,
got some jewelry.
oh yeah, well, you know how I do, man. It's good money in revolution.
Oh man.
If you like secondhand cardigans and plastic bead jewelry, then become a revolutionary. It's just such you can ball out. Anyway, before we get started, happy Pride Month, or should I say, for people of your persuasion, Happy Abomination Month. And
I
what
mean, I
else
don't
do we
really
miss?
know what you like. I don't know how you love me in there. It's Happy Pride Month for me. Out
That's not what your Lord and Savior.
no. That he actually don't have much to say about that. He got a lot to say
Just,
about
he did not come, Lord and Savior, come to circumvent the law. He did not come to change the law. He came to, Lord, I said it. I'm back. Oh, see,
yeah, see? Yeah,
he
you go
came to
playing. There you go
validate.
playing with the folks.
He came to validate the law. So y'all can't. I love how the New Testament folks try to run away from the Old Testament
But
when
no, because he can't
the
like
Yeshua came and said, "I came to lock in the Old Testament. I didn't come to circumvent it."
yeah. But we not held to that old law though. But it's a thing, bro.
Yo, yes, you is. There's only one thing. The only one thing that's changed.
What's
The
that?
only thing he said was, "You ain't gotta burn altars. You ain't gotta slaughter goats anymore." There was one last sacrifice,
Yeah.
one last blood sacrifice. That's the only thing that changed from the New Testament to the Old Testament. Instead of minutes, making or weak ritualistic sacrifices of your livestock, it's just one more sacrifice of the blood, the Son of Man. Other than that, everything else is you're obligated to. You can't mix fabrics. You're not supposed to be pushing buttons and turning knobs on the Sabbath.
I don't do that stuff anyway.
All I'm saying is, not even supposed to be eating swine.
I don't do that either.
So all I'm saying is, y'all love to act like Jesus came and since we talk about hip hop, he didn't come to remix. He came to remaster. I'm speaking the language you know. Since you're an artist, he didn't come to remix it. He came to remaster it.
But that's what I'm saying. Remastering means that it all stays the same.
Yes. So as I say, I'm sorry for saying Pride Month. I meant Happy Abomination Month to you. It's Pride Month for people like me, for me being a heathen, but it's Abomination Month for you. Have you been to your local Target to knock over the fixtures?
Hey, bro. If you got so much time on your hand to go turn over stuff at Target, live your life, bro. I be seeing them folks, and all I think is, I'm more upset that somebody gets paid $7.25 to pick that crap up after a food been in there.
Not a thing in Chicago. We got the $15 minimum wage minimum.
Oh wow, that's dope.
Yeah. So
dope.
Tell them to come on up to Target. Tell them to have another great migration up to the north, and they can pick those things up for $15 an hour. We got
how much an apartment costs up there?
Oh, see now, what difference does it make? Well, I got another hustle.
Okay, here we go.
Just relinquish your U.S. citizenship, and then there's been the city council just allocated $51 million for migrants and undocumented people, so you can relinquish your citizenship. But then again, you can't get the mandatory minimum $15 an hour minimum wage.
Oh,
well, what to do?
Anyway, life is hard.
Yeah, shouldn't be
at all. All this abundance on the planet, and we around here talking about $15.
Yeah, $15. It should be no dollars.
No,
Marx had promised us that we'd be in a cashless society by now. Somebody asked you that. Actually, you can't. It's very hard to get rid of your U.S. citizenship. No, the government does not like that shit at all. The only way to truly relinquish your citizenship is by being convicted of a major felony. Because
that sounds like going to jail. That's a strong no for me, dog.
But they're no longer citizens. Yeah. Well, I never really thought much about it, but then there was this white radical dude who joined the military to go overseas to fight for liberty in Iraq and Afghanistan. He was like a special forces operative, and he was so sickened by the atrocities that the U.S. military committed when he came back to the United States. He wanted to relinquish his U.S. citizenship. He was like, I don't want my vet benefits. I don't want to be a U.S. citizen. I'm going to migrate overseas. I want no parts of this country. And they were like, nope, you got to stay a citizen. And he was just going on. It's like it's almost impossible to get rid of your or relinquish your U.S. citizenship. It's like a gang, When you're born into this gang, you jumped into the U.S. gang. It's blood in, blood out.
No, it's blood in, life out.
That's not how the gangs work. Maybe the Mississippi gang.
No, that's what I'm saying. If you can't get blood out, like blood in, you anyhow. Let's get back to the topic.
Okay, let's get to the topic.
You're not in a gang. You don't know anything about gangs, so let's not talk.
I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm in the worst gang, most bloodthirsty, violent gang in the world. The United States government.
Hold on. Dad duty calls. My youngest son calling me. I know what he wants.
Okay.
Introduce the show. I'll be right back.
Okay. Today we're going to be talking about hip hop. What's the name of the show? Hip hop. Is it black culture or anti-black propaganda? Of course, they're saying that this is the 50th anniversary of hip hop. I'm sure if you are a hip hop enthusiast or just a casual listener or even somebody who hates hip hop, but you consume major mainstream media, you're very familiar with the fact that this is hip hop 50th anniversary. And I've been seeing all over Chicago. There's some major concerts coming, everybody from Future to local bands. So because I'm a lifelong hip hop listener and fan, and if you don't know, now you should know that Skipp Coon is a very seasoned and polished hip hop artist. If you haven't heard Skip Coon's music, just go listen to it. Go download it. Go buy some music, or just watch some of the brilliant, engaging, beautiful videos he has online. So what I hope we're able to do is to discuss hip hop in our personal lives, or give our own hip hop testimonials, and maybe some of our assessments on where hip hop has been, where it's going, and where it's headed. What does it mean to Black people in the larger Black community? And then finally, I'd like to go into some Q&A and discussion with our listeners, if that all works for you.
Perfect.
All right, you done beating your kids? I'm sorry, man. Let me stop talking biblical to you. Every time Christians hate when you talk biblical to them. What do you want from me? You know, I take your word. You tell me you're a child of God, but every time I say some godly stuff to you, you get mad at me.
Last time you was in the South, you got punched in the face.
Yeah. Which is very Christian. Yeah, it is a male chauvinist murder cult. So yes, if you offend a Christian, expect to experience violence. You done tending to your offspring? I don't know, man. I'm trying to help you be a better Christian, and you looking at me like I'm crazy. Yeah. Can we get to the topic?
Let's do it.
Can you stop going all over the place, getting in my business? Anyway, yeah. First, let me apologize for the absence of the Rational Radical show. Shout out to everyone who reached out to me to ask me what's going on with the Rational Radicals. Shout out to everybody that wished me well and wished me get well soon. Your thoughts and prayers did absolutely nothing, but I still appreciate them anyway. Shout out to Skipp for not going out to hire and find a replacement for me like Jared and Geechee did. They went out and bought on a replacement, more like an anti-Diallo. But anyway, that's it. Now we're going to talk about the topic. Hip hop at 50 years old, right? So first thing I want to talk about is your earliest, like, major experience with hip hop.
It is so fantastical that it sounds like a lie.
You're only 21 years old. You ain't been around long enough.
First off,
what'd you do? Little Uzi Vert in the airport? So you saw Little Uzi. You from the face tattoo era.
I mean, like, what's amazing about the way you playing with me right now is like you really treat me like okay.
But all right. Let's cleanse the palate.
All right.
All right.
There are, I would say, 3 significant hip hop events in my mind that I can always go to. The first is my mom came home with He's the DJ, I'm the Rapper on cassette. And I, a little boy, looked at my mama and said, "This ain't cool. I don't like this. I want Cool Mo D."
Oh, that makes
sense. Was not like had absolute like saw parents just don't understand and thought it was for little kids. Did not understand. And I mean, assuming this is like 87, 88, I'm 7, 8 years old. I had no interest in that. Wild Wild West, Cool Mo D was rapping, and I just thought
killing it.
I just thought he was cooler, right? The second memory is the first time I saw the Me, Myself, and I video. I thought those were the coolest dudes I had ever seen in my life.
Word?
I had never seen nothing like that in my life. And I legit thought, you'll get a kick out of this. I remember praying that I would be that cool when I got older.
You got there.
I didn't pay to be rich. I didn't pray for girls. I didn't pray for cars. I prayed to be cool. And it was after seeing that video.
You know
And
that was my nickname in high school.
what?
They used to call me De La Soul as an
That's
insult.
that's
As an insult.
hilarious. That's
I walk in the
hilarious.
classroom like, oh, here comes De La Soul as an insult.
That's hilarious. That means that like I might have been involved in that, and I would have been like, but they like so cool. Like, ain't no way this dude they like
If
so.
somebody called you De La Soul in Kansas City in the early '90s, they not complimenting you.
Yeah, bro.
That's like being called PM Don.
Yeah, that was very different to me.
Because that's kind of how my hood carried it. Like De La Soul was in the arena of like PM Don, and I'm sure you don't even know the Dream Warriors. Yeah. Okay. Let me show everybody. Nobody know the Dream.
Yeah, nah, you don't want that. That ain't even no cool name, right? Like, but De La Soul, man. And lastly, the first concert I ever went to, my mom took me. I saw the dudes that had the song Poison Ivy, Kwame.
I seen Kwame live.
Like it seemed like it was just so much rap, but it was headlined by Public Enemy and Digital Underground. So like that was my first concert. So seeing like Terminator X and a machine gun turret and all of that, and I just thought like that's crazy, especially like the art that my pen took. You know what I'm saying? That my first concert would be Public Enemy.
Well, these were the Dream Warriors. So, if you want to talk, but yeah, people used to make fun of me because I was like a PM Don De La Soul Dream Warriors. People used to call me that. You should check that shit out.
Yeah, I'm gonna check out Dream Warriors. I can tell you now, looking at that cover, I don't think that was good.
Really? I liked it. I liked it.
They look a little too much like Jodeci, and the dude in the front look like Kanye.
Nah, this is long before all that. This came out in 1991. So, yeah, I had this album, and dudes used to, but at this time is when Grip It on That Other Level came out, you know, and NWA first came out.
Yeah, it was wild.
You know, it's funny.
Like y'all are so West Coast because of drugs.
Right.
Yeah. Like that's super interesting. Like even like a rap buddy of mine was telling me how he became a Rolling 60 Crip, and he's from Arkansas. You know, like I couldn't really understand because like
when that movie Colors came out.
Yeah.
That movie Colors, I went to see Colors, and that was around the time Breaking It came out and shit. And that shit was like, I remember my housing project, East Hills Village, and we had the Village Boys. And then they kind of got roped into like the major West Coast gangs. And it literally went from, you know, a little slap boxing over little territory, slap boxing tournaments to dudes shooting it out within 2 to 3 months. It transitioned, you know. But that's to get into my first concert ever was the Fat Boys.
Okay.
And it was in the 80s, 88, 89, and they were on their Crushing tour. And shout out to Uncle Chris, took me and my cousins and us, and we went to the Fat Boys Crushing tour, and they were on tour with like Heavy D and just like 75 other major artists. And I was a fan of hip hop before then, and I actually wasn't the biggest fan of the Fat Boys because I liked the more grittier and conscious hip hop. But I had to say that show was phenomenal. I mean, it was so well produced. Like it was a major, like them dudes was up there, 475 pounds, and they had these dance routines. They were throwing down. And the human beatbox and
Buffy.
Yeah, Buffy and what's the other dude? Prince, what is it? Prince, Marky D,
Yeah,
and
them know-
Kubaski. And they were just had lyrics. They was busting raps and in jail without the bell. When they did that shit, everybody, all you could eat. Anyway, it was a fly. That was my very, very, very first concert. And I actually was like, oh, Fat Boys, don't nobody, Fat Boys ain't cool. And I went and said that, and I became a lifelong Fat Boys
Let's
fan
go.
from that. So, but that was my very first concert. But I've been listening to hip hop as far back as I can remember.
Yeah.
It was to this day my favorite group is Poor Righteous Teachers, and I remember when that dropped. And like you said, I'm from the Midwest, and everything coming out of the West Coast was hot shit. And then when Texas started really blowing up with Rap a Lot, and I really despised it. I despised West Coast and Southern hip hop for many a years because of the what I saw was as just the negative influence that it had on a culture that when I entered it was very life affirming.
Mm-hmm.
Even the gangster rap prior to West Coast gangster rap was more so political,
Yep.
Schoolie D, Just Ice, who was the
Yep.
gangster of hip hop, and his lyrics were very, very potent. And to this day, someone would probably say that Just Ice was a right-wing conservative because he was anti-welfare,
Yeah.
and he would rap about getting off the welfare and not
You say, bro?
accepting handouts from the government. So what sounded conscious back then, now I would say as a left-wing socialist, I would even say it was conservative or reactionary. But
which is really interesting because like I think we maybe talked about this before, like like in private conversations, but like people really have a recollection of hip hop that doesn't always line up with what happened, right? Like when people say stuff like, oh, it was a lot more political, and I think in this instance you're talking about a very specific thing. But like I always quote rappers that like, I got a color TV so I can see the Knicks play basketball. Like consumerism has always been a part. I think now it's a much larger part, but popular music has essentially always been popular music,
Well, everybody's understood even back then. I think people understood Rapper's Delight. Now they would call that industry plant.
Mm-hmm.
But it was pretty clear that Spoonie G, that the MC was the person who kept the party live.
Mm-hmm.
But hip hop has its roots in reggae and the chat or talking, the blues, the blues and the old school talking over beats, and so hip hop was birthed by political music. Absolutely. And that was always the main. So, even in the hip to the hip, the don't stop, the rocker to the bang dang boogity beat, when you go back and look at that, those were the offspring of the political from West Indian, Afro-Caribbean, Afro-Latino, and Black blues, Gil Scott-Heron. I learned about Gil Scott-Heron from reading the liner notes of Boogie Down Production and Tribe Called Quest. I learned about Gil Scott-Heron reading the liner notes of hip hop from the 80s and 90s. When I heard that click, brr, click, I'm sorry, the government you have elected isn't operative. On Boogie Down Productions, I didn't know who the hell Gil Scott-Heron was when I first heard that. So it's not a myth that hip hop was always political, and Black radical politics were always embedded. from the inception. I mean, Africa Bambaataa, I know his name is rightfully poisoned,
Right.
but Zulu Nation, that came from black militant, black conscious tradition.
Yes. But what I'm saying is, I think to just act like that's all there was.
Never said that.
I didn't say that you did, but
Okay.
a lot of people walk around acting like that's all it was, and that wasn't all it was. You know, like and essentially, even you know, like the idea of hip hop was like, yo, like we got to stop wilding out so much because we can't even go across town to holler at the babes. It's babes over there that we can't go talk to because of all the foolishness, and like I think it makes sense politically to talk about, you know, all those things that rap is, was, could be. But I also think like the slice of the pie has just gotten at one point a piece of the pie was Rapper's Delight. Now essentially there's a piece of the pie that isn't.
I think Rapper's Delight has such a prominent position is because that's when white folks started paying major attention. It's just like Bob Marley. Bob Marley, take nothing away from him. But Bob Marley is so well known is because he was the white people's entry.
Yep.
But you go back to that time of roots reggae, you know, and the icons of the people who were there. So it's like B.B. King and the blues, you know. So it's all about the crossover. We tend to define our history and our culture according to when white folks start paying attention, or when white folks, you know, entered it. You know, it was funny to me because in the mid 90s, there was like the first hip hop revival because hip hop started off shell toe Adidas. I had shell toe Adidas, fat laces. We would wear, for some reason, that bonsai flag, that Japanese bonsai flags, because it was really weird. Early, if you look at early hip hop, a lot of the fashion items came straight out of disco.
Yep.
It came out, we were dressing like disco artists and didn't even recognize it. And we're wearing the headbands and the Devo sunglasses and the fingerless gloves. If you go look at the disco bands, a lot of the dudes, when they were you go on stage, this is how you're supposed to look on stage, right? And so at that time, hip hop was a black thing with some, even the Crazy Legs and the Latinos or the Puerto Ricans that were there, Dominicans that were in hip hop at the early stage. They said the other Dominicans and Puerto Ricans are like, why are you over there with the Negros? Why are you doing that Negro music? Because it wasn't saturated in their community yet. So if a white dude or a black or a non-black person wanted to do hip hop back then, they were shunned by their own community because their community as a whole hadn't embraced it. And with that, with that transition to mainstream in the early 90s, when white kids and the larger Latinx community and other outsiders, they missed the breakdance, shell toe, Adidas, fat lace era. So in like 96, 97, they started bringing that shit back. Like, oh, we got to redo this. Because back when y'all was doing that shit, we weren't down. And we missed out on that whole era. So the first real hip hop renaissance or hip hop revival of early hip hop was brought about by people who shunned hip hop until it went mainstream and it got watered down. It got diluted, polluted, as De La Soul, diluted and polluted, steal it. You know, it was Pastor said, white boy Roy cannot feel it, but the first to try and steal it, dilute it when hip hop according to De La Soul, got diluted and polluted. They started wearing shit that we said was whack and out of style. It was weird. And this was around when the time I was just going to school, graduating, finishing up school, looking for my first job out of college. And I'm like, where are these goddamn people breakdancing? We done that already.
Yeah.
But people pop locking and wearing shell toe Adidas and wearing their hats cocked to the side.
Yeah,
and they forced
you know, like that's real different. Cause in 96, 97, I was 16, 17, and was definitely on a very different path. Like, I didn't want to hear shit from the Black Eyed Peas, or no disrespect to them boys, but J5, like none of that party music. I ain't
you talking about Jurassic 5?
Yeah, like I ain't want to hear.
Wow.
I ain't want to hear none of that shit. Like, nah. Yeah, you gotta let me get to a break, and I will. Yeah, give me a break. Let me get to a break.
Okay. All right. Now let me know when you're ready.
Nah, man. Nah, I'm rolling. Yeah, man. Hold on. Just let me say this, dear audience. I got my kids, man.
They are to sit silent until you give them permission to breathe, man. What kind of Christian parent are you?
The best kind, bro.
Huh?
The best kind.
Look, hey, you know when remember
you got on that Dream Warriors t-shirt. You really like them Dream Warriors, don't it?
Yeah, everybody used to crack on me, man. Like everybody now, and it's funny because a lot of the kids back then, many of them are like administrators and some lawyers and PhDs that I went to school with that used to listen to gangster rap and make fun of me, and they all was going to be menaces to society, and they just all now are upstanding.
Yeah, they went from menaces to members.
Exactly. So shit is wild and to see them, but yeah, that people used to make fun of me for being a tree hugging. They didn't really call me liberal. I don't think that was the vocabulary then, but I was considered like a hippie type dude, and I wasn't a hippie.
You was wearing sandals to school?
No, I went to a private school, so I would get a detention if I wore sandals. But they had a very strict dress code at my school, but people knew my politics. They knew my ideology. And I was the kind of dude that if you wanted me to ride with you and get in your car with you, you got to take out your like Ghetto Boys. You can't be playing Bust Down or Too Short. Like I would speak out and condemn people bumping Too Short. And it was funny, one time I had a friend who was a party promoter and a DJ, and I would always harass him. This is a true story. I would always be like, man, you promoting this negativity in the neighborhood. You on this negativity shit in the neighborhood, and you part of the problem. You're part of driving the homicide and violence and gangs in the community and drugs. And he was like, come to my next show. And there was this old firehouse. And people that know on the south side of Kansas City way back when, that old 2-story firehouse that they converted into an event space. And he was playing the popular music, and he had a Jungle Brothers done by the Forces of Nature. If you ain't got that album, get that album, Done by the Forces of Nature. Jungle Brothers are on tour right now, so I'm definitely hoping to go see them when they come through Chicago. He put on the Jungle Brothers album, and the whole party froze. And it seems like they all got in a single file line and headed for the exit like an alarm it went off. And he looked at me and was like, see, this is why I can't play that Jungle Brothers, that positive shit you always talking, because don't nobody want to hear that shit. And people, it like literally, like somebody threw a stink bomb. It cleared out the club. And I was like, okay, I guess.
As somebody who heard many a clubs himself, I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah.
about. I get up
It
there and
was,
go to rapping. No people just look at each other.
yeah. So the people are primed. They're definitely primed. And let's speak about what inspired you, because you kind of said what inspired
Oh,
you to become a MC, a lyricist, a hip hop living legend in the making.
I could never not do it. Like, I mean, people think I'm being, extreme or, extra or lying, but I'm really not. Like, and I look at my sons do it now. Like, they just rhyme words. Like, house, mouse. Like, they just go through words that rhyme when they just sit with each other. And I think, uh-oh, like, that's it. Like, I could just always do it. The politics came way later. I just didn't want to,
Hmm.
like, I've been I have been told things politically my whole life. I think even my dad, who in his presence, like there was a lot of disconnect, right? But in his presence, like he bought me black action figures. Like blackness was just always a thing, and I've heard my whole life stay away from white women, go to a black college, and don't join the army. Um, so and then I could always read. So if you can read and you can think, you see that America don't work. Um, so yeah, that
So
was
it's
it.
just
Yeah.
purely ethics. You didn't want to go the whole mainstream route. You decided to make sure that your music reflected your level of
Yeah,
political
like I
and
mean,
social
one,
consciousness.
I didn't I that shit sucks. Like by and large, like it just sucks. What's up?
Not all of it.
I mean, yeah, not all of it because we don't want to speak in absolutes. Oh, mosquitoes got you, huh? I'm not on break yet, bro. Your brother coming in.
Don't look at me. Be a true critic. You speaking with a. You got to speak with authority. Hey, what's up, little
Yeah, that's Miles Garvey right there.
Man, I done aged out.
Yeah, man. But like
My children grown.
yeah, bro. Like I never had any interest in it. Like it was never like okay.
So it wasn't because you're a decent person.
Yeah, nah. Like it was never cool. Like this is gonna sound so crazy to people, but I remember like looking at the I'm Bad video and thinking like, y'all like this?
Oh, come on now. You know, to this day, when I think about LL Cool J at the end when he said, "Give me that walkie-talkie." Come on.
Bro, like
I mean,
as
say yo LL and do the WAP. And if you
bro,
think you cannot rap me, yeah, boy, I bet. Because I ain't met a motherfucker who could do that yet. Come on. Cool J.
Bro.
That's
Listen,
a positive song.
I ain't saying it ain't. All I'm saying is
That's not a negative. He was rescuing his girlfriend, beating the shit out of cops.
hey, listen, bro. I'm not saying he didn't. All I'm saying is I'm looking at it thinking, y'all like this?
I like that shit to this day. Radio, don't put on radio. If you want to see an old man get out and make a fool of himself, put on radio.
Bro.
My radio, believe me, I like it loud. I'm the man with the box that can rock the crowd walking down the street with a my shoulder. Boy, let me tell you something.
Like, bro,
calm down. Let's not get beside ourselves.
Listen, all I'm talking about is for me. I'm just talking about for me. I never liked any of this stuff. I just never I never looked at it and thought like when people talk about LL and they like, oh man, like he's so cool and blah blah. I'm
It's
not
in his
saying
name.
I'm not I'm not saying he not that. All I'm saying is I ain't never like it.
Wow. I never met
So
somebody who didn't have at least a half dozen LL tracks.
none. And what's wild is like my my thoughts are so like random when it comes to it, right? So it's like I like this, I don't like these things, but I like this and I don't like these things. Like it's not like it's nonsensical. It's just stuff that resonated with me. And if it didn't resonate, it just didn't resonate. Like that's just it. Like
I I didn't have a problem with gangster rap prior to understanding its impact on the black community. You know, when NWA and them first came out, with NWA and the Posse, and
mhm.
half the song were break beats. They literally had songs on there. Remember, Easy had his first solo track was "Fat Girl." I got a fat girl on my job, and it was just a song about a fat girl who was chasing him around town. Remember that one?
No.
It wasn't. Yeah, go back and listen to NWA and the Posse. It's like that whole gangster shit was part of a larger gimmick, and they had dance tracks on there. This is something to dance to. This is something to dance to. And then, after I was ducking from my first drive-bys, you know, when my homie started getting locked up for banging and selling crack, I'm like, oh shit, this is part of a larger conspiracy. This is
Yeah.
part of a larger uh, um, conspiracy to subvert the black community. And so I started off as like, yeah, I can listen to NWA, I can listen to Ghetto Boys, Call Me the Gangster of Love. But then I'm like, wait, this shit is happening and people are emulating this shit. And that's when I was like, I can't rock with none of that. I don't want no parts of none of that negativity, and or as Karis One called it, the negativity. And to this day, I understood it to be, it wasn't by accident,
Yeah, I mean, I think we could definitely look back on it and look at the way everything lined up and see that I don't know if I'll go as far as saying it wasn't by accident, but I'll definitely say once stumbled upon, people recognized the tool that they had, right? Like I I do think some people rapped about things that were things that happened in the communities in which they lived, right? But I also know not everybody lived that.
They didn't rap about things that happened in it. I think that's another myth
I
that they
don't think
use.
so. I don't think so because what I can say is, and in my personal experience does not speak for everyone's experience, but you know, I saw enough of what was happening in my neighborhood to recognize I could recognize in my community that some of this rap stuff was really happening.
It was being motivated and provoked by the music. I remember everyone got outraged when Chief Keef was dropping an album a few years ago, and he said, when my album drop, it's going to make the murder rate in Chicago go up. And people were mad about it, and I'm like, y'all mad about him acknowledging what's real? And I'm seeing, especially here on the south side of Chicago where I live, that a lot of the music is provoking, driving, motivating, inspiring, mocking the violence and the shootings. And in my own hood, everybody know, like, the Mac Dre murder. I remember I was in Kansas City when Mac Dre was murdered on I-70. It's just not too far from the housing project I grew up in. And then this cascading series of murders that followed that, And it's still bad blood between KC and the Bay Area, to this day. I mean, and I think that this was deliberate. Because, like I said, I went to a private school and I lived in the projects. So on a daily basis, I was able to see affluent, established, educated Black people and Black people who were at the bottom of society, drug addicts, single mothers with 3 or 4 children, and they're not even 20 yet, trying to make a way in public housing with no support system. I would see that every day, leave for school, come home every single day. And I would see that the music was not articulating what we were going through in the hood. Because to be honest with you, in my housing project of hundreds of units, hundreds of households, thousands of children and Black people stacked on top of each other. For every thug and gangster, you had a Diallo. You had kids that were very creative. There was a kid in my neighborhood who was very into remote control car, a poor Black kid who would go search in the dumpsters, who would go in the dumpsters of Circuit City, and he would make remote control cars from scratch. You had one little Black kid in my hood that was into opera music, and he would sing opera music, and he'd walk in and hit these high notes, like 9 years old. You had girls who could sew and do hair, self-trained better than any trained seamstress or beautician in the hood. Was an extremely dynamic place of creative people. And these motherfucking middle class, these rappers, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube grew up in a 2-parent household with middle class parents. And on his first tour, he was enrolled in the university or in college, his first tour. He didn't leave the streets or the dope house to go on tour. He took a semester off from college. And they went around the world talking about, I'm just talking about what's happening in my hood. And one thing I know from my own homies, my OG, the dudes that saved me from getting clipped in the streets, they weren't rapping. The gangsters weren't rapping. The drug dealers weren't rapping. And it's a myth that we talking about what's happening in the hood. They a goddamn lie. They lied about it and portrayed, because white people, the white majority, had a deep, salacious desire to see Black people in that light. So they wrote these scripts about what was happening in the Black community, not to cater to the hood, but to cater to white desires. It's no different than when they engage with Asian people. They had these certain myths and stereotypes of what a very and exaggerate. They have these myths about what their subordinates are, and the Black people and the other oppressed minorities construct this false reality of who their own people are and sell it to white people. And so I do think it was a deliberate, conscious thing.
In the 6th grade, one of my classmates had on some Jordans. And I said, "Hey, your mama bought you some Jordans?" And he reached his hand in his pocket and he pulled out a handful of crack. And he said, "You can get all the Jordans you want with this. My mama ain't got to buy me shit." So hearing a song about Dope Man, I saw him. And he wasn't in the 6th grade with me.
I remember when
but his brother was somebody everybody knew. And I think there are these popular records that the machine pushes the button on, right? Like your man was telling you, man, I can't play no Jungle Brothers records because the machine didn't push the button on it. If the machine would have pushed the button on it, like it would have been that. But because the machine will not push the button on that, this is what we have. And I'm not saying that what we have is good. I'm just saying what we have I don't know if it's the chicken or the egg. All I know is before I heard the music, I saw what was going on, and then I started hearing a lot more music about what was going on, and that's just my lived experience.
I remember when I very first heard the girlies are free because the crack costs money. Oh yeah, the girlies are free because the crack costs money. I heard that song and I didn't know what crack was.
Mm.
I didn't know. I didn't know if he in my juvenile brain. I thought he meant. I thought he was being clever because the crack is like the butt, the ass crack. So
Mhm.
the girl is free, meaning you can interact with the girl freely. But if you want the crack, you have to pay. If you buy me the crack, I know how to act. And if you don't, you might as well step back. And maybe less than 2 months later, my best friend came knocking on my door and was like, yo, I hate to tell you this, but your mom is down in my house with my mother smoking crack. And I'm not saying that hip hop caused this. I'm not accusing of hip hop of causing this because even before the crack epidemic, we had the heroin epidemic, that came after the Vietnam War. The United States had been allowing our communities to be drug markets and open air drug markets. I mean, even going all the way back to prohibition. They were letting the black jukes and the black community was always that's literally when we talk about street culture, which is really disgusting that black people speak about the streets when, oh yeah, we the streets and street culture, when that's nothing but the bottom feeders of capitalism. And the white elites understood that the streets are the bottom feeders. And we've tried to redeem that and make it a point of pride. But saying you streets is like literally I'm embracing the segment of the economy that was relegated, that I've been relegated to. So I'm not blaming hip hop for doing this, but for every movement, negative or positive, the patriotic movement didn't provoke the war. Whenever there's a major U.S. conflict, whether it's the Vietnam War or whether it's the atrocities and the genocidal wars in the Middle East, and even now with the Ukrainian, there's always a cultural propaganda element. So hip hop has been the voluntary and enthusiastic propaganda apparatus of the CIA and U.S. government efforts to, number one, destroy black radical movements and black radical consciousness, and to sustain us in our place as the bottom dwellers, to maintain us in the hierarchy. So it didn't cause it. It was just an instrument in sustaining and promoting and spreading it.
Yeah, I think we agree. I think we agree.
And we've never, and we still look at these race traders, Snoop Dogg, Ice Cube, Dr. Dre. We look at these race traders as heroes and icons and even role models and examples for our larger community.
But see, I think where I see something that's slightly different. I don't think this is what you're saying, but it's something that I always hear. That typically when people make their argument, they're talking about it like there's something wrong with black people, when that's what every community does. Like he who has the most gold is the most special, right? And unfortunately for us, the only way that you're gonna get some gold is to be subservient to capital. So that's it. That's just what it is, and it's bizarre, but that's what it is. And I don't think it's right. I don't think we do not fight against it, right? I just think that I think we have to be far more willing to walk away from more things than we're willing to walk away from in order to make the point and take the positions that you're talking about, right? Like one of the things, speaking very selfishly, one of the reasons why, like when we're always joking and you say, if I had your talent, what I would do with it, right? Like I would make a song about the car and go head on. Like I think that, like ultimately, I have chosen to accept that I can't be a part of insert the dominant culture, whatever you want to call it. So I make things that are outside of that intentionally because I know that's where I'm gonna be. I'm not one of those people that believe that you can um that you can that you can that you can step in the water a little bit. Like that's not how it works.
But here's the problem though, where you did mention every community does this. Every single community makes extremely degenerate music. I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri, on the border of Missouri and Kansas. I grew up maybe like 2 miles from the Missouri Kansas border. And even though I lived in an all black community, surrounding me on all sides was rednecks. You know, well, on one side of where I lived was the city dump because they built the projects right adjacent to the city dump. But on the other side was a trailer park. And then another side of that was a truck depot where all the big rigs come. So that's why we had so much asthma and other people. I know people to this day that grew up in the projects that got recurring issues.
Mm-hmm.
But I was surrounded by rednecks and white folks on all sides, right? So the white kids had way more degenerate music than black kids had access to.
Mm-hmm.
There's this group called Cannibal Corpse.
Mm-hmm.
When I was in middle and high school, there was a group called Cannibal Corpse that made music about everything from to cannibalism, which is it. They were rapping about drugs that I didn't even know existed. You know, horse tranquilizers. I'm sure. Let me think of a more popular. Oh, 9 Inch Nails. Remember 9 Inch Nails?
Mm-hmm.
And the degenerate music of 9 Inch Nails. And I mean, it just goes on and on. 9 Inch Nails, Deep Purple. White kids had drug music. This whole, sipping on some Cicerb and this whole drug culture and music. The theme was sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Back in that era, white boys would wear shirts that said sex, drugs, and rock and roll. And I remember KMD, before he became MF Doom, he was like, I don't want sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I prefer peace, love, and hip hop soul. So white kids had access to music that was more degenerate than anything hip hop was producing at that era. But the difference was white people are not colonized. White people were not systemic oppression. So whereas if a white boy understood that saying, hey, antisocial degenerate music I have access to, that is not the mainstream.
Mm-hmm.
Though Cannibal Corpse is not going to be in the Hall of Fame, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, like NWA. Cannibal Corpse is not going to be headlining the Grammys. Cannibal Corpse is not going to be played on popular white radio. Whereas the music, the black music, because we don't have control of the airways and the propaganda apparatus,
Mm-hmm.
since we don't have control of that, we don't get to dictate what is mainstream versus what is considered underground or blue. Yep. Underground and blue music has been around since my great-grandmother's era.
Absolutely.
I want a big fat pussy. There's no genre of music that didn't have its nasty, its street, taking out the switchblade. Somebody's asking you to mute. I think there was no music. Sorry. There was no culture. But it's not us to determine where the music is placed. We don't determine the musical hierarchy. So even though we produce the cultural product, they say, well, this is where it will go. This is how it would be classified. This is how it would be distributed. This will be mainstream. This will be suppressed. Where I can't do that with white folks' music. I can't do that with their music. So that's why our music is not ours. And I'll just say this and then I'll turn it back over to you. This is something black people have to understand with no matter what we create. Whether it is a internal combustion engine, a tungsten filament for the light bulb, everybody, what we invent. Whether it's calculations to fly crackers through the moon, or whether it's hip hop music. Anything created by the colonized or the enslaved is automatic property of the master. Anything created by the colonized or the enslaved is automatic property of the master. That means if you are a black creative, whether you create something or consume it, if it is not inherently revolutionary, it belongs to the master.
Yeah, I'm sorry if y'all disturbed by my son watching anime, but y'all get over it because
All right, yeah, just
I'm enjoying every minute of it. Like he
all right.
just over there looking at it. Yeah. But yeah, absolutely. And I think that's why I've always been so once the music got political, any
It was always.
conversation. No. I'm talking about my music.
Oh, sorry.
Like for a long time, I just wrote raps about how much better at rapping I was than everybody. Um, but once the music got political, any conversation about hey, maybe you could do it like this and thinly veil it, and no, that's not how any of it work. Because people will not take the political meaning; they'll make it mean something else. It has to be overtly political, and it has to stand in direct opposition to all of the other things that are being created, right? And I think two things. One, I've never considered that everything belongs to the colonizer in the way that you're describing it. But I have regularly said that if you're, and this is scripture, if you're not gathering, you're scattering, right? Like if you're not gathering people unto the God, you pushing them away. And I've thought that about revolution. If you are not actively promoting it, I think it was Toni Morrison that said the job of the writer is to make the revolution irresistible, right? Like if you are not doing that, you you in the way, and I don't know what else to do about it because by and large, people don't want to have complicated conversations. They go to music to escape, and I go to music to reflect.
Yeah. Well, let's answer the question we presented, and then we're going to engage with the audience. So the
That's my
question was,
favorite part of this show, really.
yeah, I can't say that, but I appreciate that you do. No, I'm trying to win friends and influence people, so I don't always say what I really think. Um, is hip hop black culture or is it anti-black propaganda?
It's definitely anti-black propaganda. Um, and I think we arrived at that answer in two very different ways. But like, I don't. I mean, KRS-One can get on here and argue with whoever he want to argue with. I'm not interested in having that conversation or arguing. But I don't necessarily think hip hop culture is a thing.
Thank you.
Like,
Oh,
like, 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 there
no
is
such
very,
thing.
yeah. Like, I just don't. I'm not from
Thing.
New York. I don't know what they was doing after disco. I wasn't there. You know what I'm
I
saying?
was.
I was not there. I ain't never loved the South because I love God, right? But what I am saying,
I wish God reciprocated.
what I am saying though is like it is just it is just jarring to me the way that people act like wearing Shelter or Adidas is indicative of anything. Like this is black music. That's all it is, and 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 that's it. Like it's just black music. His roots aren't black music. All of it is just it's just black music. And I don't know why we have to feel like we have to make a thing. We have to call attention to a thing or name a thing or make it feel like the thing is so special in order for it to be valid. Like I'm black and I'm alive, therefore
I
I'm
think,
valid.
well, I'm not as generous as you are. I am very big fan of nomenclature. I am a very big fan of defining things, labeling things, assessing and critiquing and dissecting and restructuring and relating things and determining how things relate to the other. But one thing I agree with you so wholeheartedly on is that there's no such thing as hip hop culture. No music. Music is a product of culture, and music is a reflection of culture, but music unto itself is not a culture. And the only people who seek to, like you had mentioned earlier, escape their role and their position will try to take the position that a music unto itself, a music genre unto itself is a culture. Um, but the reason why I think they push hip hop as a culture unto itself is because number one, it allows for greater revenue generation because you get to go universal and worldwide. But also, it allows them to escape their role and responsibility as traders of um, their race because hip hop can articulate or reflect any culture. I know people from the Pacific Islands. I just saw a hip hop battle of two Filipino rappers. Hip hop is anywhere. Just like I knew a black kid that was singing opera and he put his own black slant on that, you know. And right across the street from the university where my wife is, the opera house and classical, I see all these white dress up in there to go see the Chicago Philharmonic perform. I don't know if y'all can still hear me, but I'm here. And you would never find this old crotchety white man and say, well, yeah, I'm classical music culture. So hip hop is a reflection, a product, and a conduit for culture. So then you have to say what culture is being articulated, promoted, reflected, and communicated through hip hop. Because hip hop has some very specific elements to it. Like graffiti art is hip hop. But when I walk through Chicago, I see in Chicago everything from communist and socialist graffiti to just the flamboyant check out my style tags to Nazi right wing evangelical Christian nationalist graffiti. So graffiti unto itself is not hip hop, it's not culture. It depends on what that graffiti articulates.
Absolutely. That's all I was about to say. Like, what is it saying? Because if you're not saying
Right.
nothing, I mean, that's just what it is.
Right.
And I do think that I'm developing this thought. Um, I think that calling hip hop a culture is just another way to commodify blackness. And white folks more than anything loved about
Right.
some black.
Right. Yeah, I would say at this juncture, and for quite some time, the mainstream of hip hop is anti-black propaganda. You know, I saw when Snoop Doggy Dogg went to perform in Japan a few years ago, and his opening act were some hip hop artists in Japan, and they came out in straight up blackface. There was these Japanese artists dressed up like West Coast kids, and they had literal blackface. And Snoop Dogg just stood there because the check had cleared, I suppose. Um, there were these images going around the internet a few years ago where on the African continent they had nigger store. And in the nigger store, they sold Jordans and hip hop attire, gold chains. And I spoke to Danny Boy. Well, I didn't speak to him. Let me stop trying to name drop. But I went to a book. Danny Boy had just written a semi-autobiographical book about his time on Death Row Records and his time with Tupac. So it was in Hyde Park. So I went to his book signing and his book talk. And he was talking about when he was with Death Row, he went to the African continent. I believe it was Ghana. And after their performance and meeting all their contractual obligation, they were just kind of hanging out with the people from around the way. And they took them to the slums of Accra, and they had Tupac gangs. And the people over there like, yeah, we're nigger gangs and we roll on the ops and all that whole shit. And he said, I was really surprised about how not just Death Row and Tupac, but how black so-called culture, which is not black culture, is anti-black culture, has resonated and reached parts of the world. I couldn't even identify these places on the map before I came here. But when I started touring the world, you know, I was in Italy and I'm hearing them blast, you know, 187 on a nigga, I kill nigga. And the people don't even speak English. So this iteration, because we don't control it, we don't direct it. We are up front, but we're not behind the scenes. It's like we've created the means and the justification for our own destruction in many ways. And it saddens me because, you know, I embrace the term hater, you know, and these same people who literally enrich themselves like Ice Cube can come back and be political leaders, you know, and be icons in our community. And we're not even mad about it, let alone gonna do something about it.
And that goes back to our first conversation. Bobby Wright. The only contradiction is there are no contradictions.
Right. We're the freest people in America in that respect. So with that, I'd like to first give a shout out to our supporters for the last half of the show. Shout out to Phenomics. Hey, appreciate you coming through. And thank you for the contribution to Black Power Media. With no comment, but CS makes a generous contribution because every struggle, every history requires media and propaganda. So if we are in a struggle and we are in a condition, everything that we put out as a product, as a culture, is either entrenching us in oppression or helping to liberate us from oppression. And it's like Dr. John Henry Clark said, if it's not contributing to our upliftment and liberation, then it's contributing to our eventual destruction. So we say that, and I like to open it up. If you have any questions, comments, or criticisms.
And that's in the Bible.
Just when I was seeing eye to eye with you. Just when I was starting to resonate.
It is. It's in the Bible.
Are you one of them fundamentalists, or do you cherry pick the Bible?
Nah, man. I definitely believe that the Bible is written by men. I definitely think that it's a tool. You can make it say pretty much whatever you want to say. So it says a lot of revolutionary stuff to me. But okay, let's get to these questions.
Let's get to the question. Do you think because of Black in Harlem, which I believe somewhat cultural expression, but it was also manipulated by the dominant society? Okay, and here's the second part. It's the same thing in many instances that cultivated hip hop?
I don't know. I definitely think.
Green tea.
Huh?
I'm getting the green tea.
Okay. I definitely think there are some parts in there. I think that's a really interesting thing, though, to compare to like the Harlem Renaissance. I think that's really interesting. I never really considered that like that. That's interesting. On the surface, I think I agree, but I'm not sure.
Yeah. I don't even like the term Renaissance for a number of reasons. Number one, it Eurocizes a Black cultural movement, because the European Renaissance is where the name came from. So they were basically asserting that when you think about the Enlightenment, is when Europeans say, well, first we were Greeks and Romans and we founded civilization, and then they're basically Christian fundamentalist just driving came said, all this Greco-Roman stuff is pagan and it's backwards, and went into what the Europeans some call the Dark Ages. And then for almost 1,000 years, all of the advancements, the reasoning, the philosophies coming out of the Greek and Roman era was lost to Europeans. And then certain European philosophers and theologians came and said, well, we're going to have a Renaissance. And basically that meant white people returning to their antiquity, returning to their antiquity knowledge. So the Harlem Renaissance, first of all, how can you be reborn? The only way to have a true Black Renaissance is for Black people to return to their antiquity, which means we would have to go back to Africa and resurrect our sovereign African consciousness, which I don't really think the Harlem Renaissance qualifies, especially since the Harlem Renaissance is more like hip hop, because the daughter of Madam C.J. Walker and other affluent Negro Blacks were some of the major funders and backers for the Renaissance. So the Harlem Renaissance was kind of like a Black bourgeois thing, but I don't want to be deceived, because a lot of the literature from that era, a lot of the arts from that era, I greatly appreciate. I remember, some of my favorite books, especially nonfiction, Langston Hughes, Just Be Simple, all of that came out of the Harlem Renaissance. Some great works came out of it, but I think that the fact that it's modeled after a European historical and cultural event, would have to say that didn't really, my opinion, this is my conclusion, didn't really do what it do, which was resurrect and reassert Black people, the culture being a vehicle or an engine to advance Black people. I think it just was something for the Black bourgeoisie more so than the Black masses.
Yeah.
And now somebody's talking. Is it possible for people to use divination to give them the ability to produce music that will be popular and successful? I'm not really. Here's the thing.
Hey, man. Hey, hold on. Let me answer this first before you begin.
Okay. I wasn't about to.
You definitely about to be disrespectful. This is what's odd to me. Why would I pray for an individual benefit? I just think that's strange to me. Like, of course, I say thank you for my health and my strength. I pray for my children to be healthy and strong, but I just think it's bizarre to be an adult being like, hey, please let my music get me a Grammy. That's just strange to me.
Well, I assume that Mr. or Miss Mann is talking about divination. Now, it says deviation, but I'm assuming that they're talking about consulting with the ancestors, the various means of consulting with the ancestors.
Yes.
That's what I assume you're talking about, because as far as deviation, I'm not sure. So that's if what you're talking about,
I think it's just a typo. I mean, that's what I read it to be saying.
Exactly. So what I would say about that is we have an artist who does that, which is Azalea Banks. Azalea Banks does that. So, and I would say that to a degree, at one point, her music was quite popular. So yeah, I guess you can, because we know
But was
that
it revolutionary? But
it didn't ask if he said produce music
But
that
he
will be
say popular
popular
and
and
successful.
successful, not revolutionary.
But that's what I assume that's what he meant. But yeah, like I
So
mean, I don't
yes,
know.
I think you can use divination to do it, but
Yeah, all right,
I
do your
haven't
thing,
seen. And there's a lot of times that people believe that many successful artists are using dark arts and divination to a lot of people, a lot of black people, a lot of African people. Is seen as a dark art or mystic arts, but
Yeah.
I don't think it's
Yeah.
necessary, but I think it's possible.
Yeah,
People
possible. I think
believe
is the key
that
word.
that
But but listen, bro.
Beyonce uses that. So
But listen,
yes,
bro. Okay, listen. All I'm saying is this, bro. What I gotta pray for that a budget can do. Like if the budget big enough, like it's gonna work. So I don't know. I
then then
think
then then why does Beyonce call upon the Orisha
I don't know
and
Beyonce to
uses
know
the
that she caught.
symbols and magics of divination?
Listen, I don't know
Because
Beyonce
she
to know
got the
that she.
budget.
Listen, I don't know what Beyonce does. I don't know
Her
that lady.
staffers have come out and says that she uses both divination, witchcraft, and mystic and dark arts.
Listen. I'm so focused on being a good dad and a soccer parent that I don't have time to worry about what other people be doing. All I'm gonna say is this: a budget can do all of that. So what I need to be praying for if I got the budget for it. That's just very strange. And I think it treats God like an ATM. Like,
Which
prayers
God?
don't any of
Your
them.
God don't mess with divination.
Yeah. Well, I'm an African person, so yeah.
It's God's plural.
Okay. I'm with it. Do your thing. When are you gonna do a call-in show so I can absolutely not tune in?
I don't know. I don't know how to do a call-in show. How would I do
just-
that? I could share the link so people can.
No, what you
chime
do
in
is you
here.
get a Google Voice number so that people can call you, or I could put your real phone
Do
number
this?
on the internet if you want me to do that. You want me to put your real phone
Can't
number
have the
on the
ladies
internet?
after me like that. I would, man. Can't be in show. I can't have my phone blowing up every
Alright.
time, man. My wife has my little. Every time I put in one of those little codes, she figures it out in under a week. I'm just not slick enough. But I don't know. I'm willing to do a call-in show. I ain't scared of the people. I'm for buying of the people. So however we
I'm
can
not.
engage in the people.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not.
Okay, so it's a follow-up question. So can we say that when it comes to when it comes to the Black Renaissance era of Harlem was just an expression that they had a little leeway, which was still co-opted by the dominant society? Well, I've actually read, if you believe the conspiratorial history, that the Harlem Renaissance was orchestrated by the West to subvert or prevent white left, like white anarchist, white communist, from fusing with the black left.
I would be interested to hear where you got that story from. That seems like
it's from a couple of. You can read a couple of books. Now, some of the books have been discredited, but the white conspiratorial point of view, it was stated that. But I mean, if you look at the Harlem Renaissance, it was a bourgeois endeavor. Because at the same time of the Harlem Renaissance, you had a very strong element of black anarchists. Yeah, black socialists, like Paul Robeson and Marcus Garvey, they were decentered.
Yes, but anything that is promoted by the state is going to be anti-revolutionary. Like we already know,
right?
Right. So yeah, and I mean, I love Madam C.J. Walker, but definitely a capitalist.
For what?
I mean,
why you love her?
She gave
what she do to earn your love?
Folks. She inspired folks, but she was definitely a capitalist.
Yeah, to what? What did she inspire them?
Get rich, nigga.
And that
Like
thing,
without Madam C.J. Walker, is there Jay-Z? We don't know. We don't know.
that's a condemnation. That I fan of Madam C.J. Walker, straightening comb, and her toxic chemicals reacts her.
Uh-oh, your internet flaking.
So I don't know. You can have
What else we got?
CJ. Let's see. Got somebody agreeing with you. Hating on me.
That
I
ain't-
can't win.
Did you close that refrigerator cover?
Here's an interesting question.
Okay.
I'd say it already is.
Yeah. I absolutely agree.
I think it already is. Especially from the consumer side of the view. Way back in the 90s, do you remember the KRS-One Nelly beef?
Like sometimes, man, so I can't remember where I saw this. I think it was on Reddit. But this is like so important to me. So they was like two animals was beefing. I think it was a goat and a lion, but it sounds very strange to me that a goat and a tiger would be in the same place. Like that's just strange to me. Like why would a goat be hanging out with a tiger? Mm-hmm. Anyhow, these two animals beefing. And one of the animals that eats grass says that the grass is blue. The other animal eats meat and says that the grass is green. So they going back and forth about this. The goat says, well, we going to go to the king of the jungle and ask him what he says the color of the grass is. So they get there. The animal that eat grass is like, yeah, the grass is blue. The lion cuts him off and says, you're absolutely right. And because you're right, I'm going to sentence whatever the animal that eat meat is, I'm going to sentence him to 5 years silence. Right? So before his sentence is to begin, he looks at the lion and says, like, you know that the grass is green. Why would you sentence me? Why would you punish me for this? He was like, it's not because you said that the grass is green. We both know that. It's because you arguing with this fool. I think far too many times we sit around and we argue with fools. I don't know if hip hop, and I'm not calling Uncle True 45 a fool. That's not what I'm saying. But I think a lot of times we sit around and we have really powerful conversations around things that are absolutely nonsensical. Black folk don't control nothing. So we may be the talent, but they telling you now that robots gonna replace the talent. So what is it then? Like what does it mean to be a majority black genre if you don't control nothing in it?
And I feel that we start finding what makes black. Because even if you were they're black artists, which I do think you have to consider that. But what are the artists articulating? What value system? What goals and aspirations? Is capitalism black? Is mass consumption and hyper-consumerism black? Is sexism, misogyny, and misogynoir, is that black? So even though the artists are black, the values, the ambitions, the goals, the agendas, the worldview, and the philosophies and the theories that they are articulating aren't black. So even though we know the white folks are on it, the white folks doing all this stuff behind the scenes, even though the artists are black, what's coming in their heads and out of their mouths ain't black. And I think we gotta.
And again, to be black, shout out to Natalie. To be black is necessary, but it is not sufficient. Like Clarence Thomas black, Candace Owens black. Like I just, you know, I don't understand it.
I don't. You said, how do you counter claims that Black Americans lack unique culture? I think we can go with the bluegrass argument. Anybody that says that Black people in the United States don't have a unique culture, it's just someone who's ignorant of culture in general.
That's all I'm saying. So, like,
not only do Black people in the United States have a unique and distinct culture from white America, we have a unique and distinct culture from the other African diasporas. That's like saying there's no Jamaican culture, no Jamaican cuisine, no.
So that is exactly,
or no Black Panamanian.
That is all I'm saying, bro. And shout out to Fanon. His daughter's a lovely woman. Fanon, shout out for everything that he got right. But you know,
and Del Jones never said Black people didn't have a unique culture. Del Jones acknowledged that Black people have a culture. He wrote 4 books, the Culture Bandits books, a series of 4 books. And he said that white people stole our culture and mimic and contaminate our culture. So Del Jones very much acknowledged that Black people have a culture and that our culture is often, but one problem is that our culture, due to our status of being under oppression, has to be radicalized and revolutionized. Black culture is insufficient because of the status that we find ourselves in. So we have to revolutionize and radicalize our culture.
And we have no way of disseminating that culture because we don't own nothing.
Independent.
Your algorithm tell you what to watch. Right? Like you don't, there is no thing that works like that, and it's just super frustrating that we just think that everything is equal and Black people are just doing poorly because of whatever we got going on. I just think that's nonsense.
Oh, I didn't think of this. Without Madam C.J. Walker, Fox hair may not have been that laid. I didn't think of that, so I guess I do owe the debt of gratitude because Amen. I am a supporter. I voted for Kim Fox twice. I think she is a reflection of what I ask of our politicians. She is a competent bureaucrat. And so I guess I do owe her for that because, I mean, Kim Fox's perms do be laid. And I hope she gets a 3rd term. And I'll vote for her a 3rd time. So, yeah, okay. So there was one redeeming thing that Madam C.J. Walker did. Okay, let's move on. White and red. I'm not sure. A lot more comments. Any questions? This is the Q&A period.
Man, let's on the comments ride, bro. Share the things out. I can't.
Oh, you want to share the comments too?
Yeah, because you ain't got me where I can see it.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'll send you the admin. I got, you know,
it's all
semantics. Right. Now, I'm a big fan of semantics. I think semantics matter. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I do too, but you know.
Uh-oh. Kim Fox not running again?
She moving south.
Is she under term limits?
Yeah, she ready to move to the south. Hey, Kim Fox, I'll let your boy.
That's hustling backwards, man.
Which one?
Moving south is hustling, is going backwards. That's regressive for Black people.
Sound like a drug addict.
We came from up north, the Great Migration.
And it's time to come home.
Huh?
Look, come to the south is step 1. Go to Africa, step 2.
Well, I get in trouble when we talk about repatriation to Africa, so I'm gonna leave that alone. I'm gonna leave. Yeah, Kim Fox. Kim Fox. She's given up. Kim Fox had a domestic dispute with her husband, and the police came out, and so she had some serious personal problems that I do think arose. And she's had from the moment she was elected, and she made good on her promise not as she because she's a local prosecutor here, and she made good on her promise not to stop locking up Black youth wholesale and charging for every little crime and giving unfair. So she's a prosecutor, and the police from day one have been in opposition to her. And there is a very powerful cabal of lock them up and throw away the key liberals in this city. So too bad. So if there's another progressive politician that takes her place, I will campaign and support them. If not, I have to write in or do a Green Party. Makes sense. I cannot think of another word, so I just use Renaissance. Okay. Nobody's holding that against you, Namdi. Meg the Stallion in Democrat? I don't know. Is a Democrat? I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. Bro. Yeah.
Come on, the time is almost up. Oh, you want me to share? Is she out of pocket? Y'all leave Kim Fox alone, please.
Yeah, for real.
Talking reckless.
Yeah, she comes south though.
For what though? I'm not a fan of the South. Oh, I'll be in Atlanta on the 20th.
Oh, for the thing that come out I'm doing?
Yeah. I'll be there 2-3 days.
I'll be not in Jackson. So they don't worry. Oh, that's interesting. That's a really interesting question. Okay. So, Casey, what is? Oh, that's peace, love, and light. Oh, that's cool. I think they're amazing musicians. Like, hey, you listen to that jazz stuff?
And I'll die first. My blackness will not permit me.
Man, see,
and I don't know why so many of y'all in the industry be jeffing.
Bro, all I'm saying is they jazz stuff is really good. I ain't saying I'm listening to
No, I remember one time I came home and my homie had went out and bought Paul's Boutique. And he was playing it on my stereo system. I'm like, when the lease come up, we can't be roommates no more. I never mess with the Beastie Boys. It's like Dale Jones said, they picked the right name because they're beast. Yep. I look at the Beast Boys as what they are, failed punk musicians. And it kind of bothers me.
Yeah, but like that jazz stuff they got is really good. It's really good.
Take your word for it, because I ain't listening. I don't need to hear nothing from no Beastie Boys.
Yeah, I really like it. It's really good. I might listen to that tomorrow. That might be my.
I remember when Paul Revere dropped, and I was singing, had a little horsey named Paul Revere, me and my pussy in a port of beer. And I didn't know they was white boys.
Yeah.
I didn't know they was licensed to ill. And when I saw it, I'm like, I listen. Let me just leave it at that, because I know a lot of people, y'all militant behind the Beastie Boys.
Yeah, I'm not around for them like that, but I am saying like that.
Not a fan.
Like that last stuff they did, but yeah, like
Culture Bandits.
And what I will say is this though. I'll say this though.
Talks about Beastie Boy.
I'll say this about them. That's one of the ways Russell Simmons got rich.
Which strike against him. You making my argument.
Yeah.
You make argument against CJ Walker. Now you making my argument against the Beastie Boys. And I remember, everywhere I turn, everybody I like, oh, the Beastie Boys got mad love, got mad respect for the Beastie Boys. And I'm like, for what? Bunch of mediocre rappers. And if they were black, they wouldn't be where they are now.
I tell people that all the time. I say that about
I ain't got
quite a few
nothing for the
rappers.
Beastie Boys. I ain't never bought no Beastie Boys cassette, CD, or LP. I
Yeah,
ain't
I
never
mean,
went
I
to see
haven't
the
either,
Beastie
bro.
Boys perform. I ain't got nothing for them. Ain't nothing they could do for me but get out of my face. That's my position on the Beastie Boys. And if you like their music, go find a black person who copies them and buy their shit. Do them like they do us. That's the only thing. We get the Beastie Boys gives us an opportunity to do to white folks what they've been doing to us forever. So if you're a fan of the Beastie Boys and the live acoustic instruments and hip hop and all the shit that they supposedly pioneered, then I tell you what, go find a black artist that copies them and support and give the black artist all the credit for the shit Beastie Boys did. Like here, yeah, I love the Far Side. So Far Side, I hope the Far Side didn't pay them white boys a damn dime for sampling that. I love that. Why did y'all sleep on Lab Cap in California
You know, that was the
and
first
playing
CD I
rap?
bought. That was the
Lab
first
Cap.
CD I bought. Yep. The
Shame
first
on the
CD I
hood for
bought.
sleeping on Lab Cap in California and playing rap. Y'all did them brothers wrong. So yes, the Far Side sampled. But yeah, I ain't got nothing for the Beastie Boys. And I'll say it unashamedly. I don't like them because they white. You know,
Okay.
Living Color came out with two of the best rock albums, and white folks wouldn't let them break through. Fishbone been out here for half a damn century almost. For 30 years, Fishbone been out here dropping some of the dopest rock albums. Fishbone better than the goddamn Rolling Stones. Fishbone's better than Guns N' Roses. And the only reason Rage Against the Machine broke through is because white folks didn't know half the people was colored folks on that band. They thought they was all white boys. And that's when they heard Zach De La Roca. But before white folks figured out they wasn't all white boys, it was too late. So when I can see black artists busting through on their genres and in their areas, if they ain't gonna show no love to black artists doing their shit, man, and Bad Brains, black rock musicians been making better music than all these white rock musicians for decades and ain't been shown no love. It's been looked at as peripheral or alternative. Shout out to Fishbone.
Right on. I was intense.
So nah, man, get the Beastie Boys. I'm gonna delete that comment. I don't even want them in my comment feed. I ain't got nothing for them. And it bothers me just how much reverence and respect. It just bothers me how much reverence and respect hip hop has for the Beastie Boys. They ain't done shit. And as soon as it was convenient, they stopped doing rap altogether. The Beastie Boys were a failed punk group. And they were like, well, let's go be some gimmick rap, do some gimmick rap. And the hip hop community is like, oh, ain't nothing we love more than validation from white folk. If white people are doing rap, then it's real. Oh, nothing to apologize for. I ain't mad at you. But I've been having this Beastie Boys fight since 1989.
Yeah, like he ain't really even talking to us. Like he just talking at this point.
I'm talking to all my homies. I'm talking to my man Rich, who was a big fan. Yo, Beastie Boys are in town. I'm like, how dare me to a Beastie Boys concert? You don't want me to be in the crowd about to go. Well, I guess they no more. I mean, two of them are gone, right?
I thought it was just one.
Two. I think two of the Beastie Boys are gone. That's why, hey, they out there drinking 40s, trying to, 40s and blunts, trying to, hey. And I remember they went on tour with Public Enemy. I'm like, what? I don't know. I thought two of them passed. No way. And especially in New York at that time. Black people, hey, we got too much love. We too kind. We too kind as a people. We too xenophilic for my taste. Cornel West for president. You voting for Cornel West?
Yeah, two of them had died.
Yeah.
Am I voting for Cornel West?
Yeah.
Nope.
Who you voting for in the next presidential race?
I don't know.
Right now, if the election was held today, and it was DeSantis, Trump, Biden, or Cornell.
Cornell West. If I got to vote,
See, I got you. Me too. That's where I'm stuck at. You know what I don't like about Cornell West? You know what I resent about him?
What's that?
He made me have to change my position on him because I used to hate Cornell West. I didn't even call him Cornell West. I used to go around calling him Coon L West.
Okay.
And I got my reasons. But
Okay.
then when he came out, hardening the paint on Obama. And it wasn't that he was calling out Obama. It's that he was a black man of his stature, the black man that had access to MSNBC, and a black man that had access to CNN, and a black man who had access to the Ivy League. He was like one of the black men that was at the highest stature to call out Obama. And now in 2023, it's very cool to call Obama out. You know, a lot of slick people, you know, out there, yeah, Obama didn't do nothing for black folks. But back when Obama was the rock star,
yep,
when Michelle and Obama were rock stars in 2008, 2009, 2010, he was calling them out. You know, he was country when country wasn't cool. And I just had to give him props for that. You know, and a lot of people attacked him and turned their back on him. So I started back to calling him Cornell West.
Yeah, I definitely appreciated that.
They said I don't think she's white, but she ain't black. I think she's Palestinian, but he earned it.
Hey man,
you don't go to school and get all them degrees and do all that work.
This boy out of control right here. Yeah, what grown people do at their house ain't none of my business.
Oh yeah, well that's his loss, man.
What grown people do at their house ain't none of my business. But I'm definitely gonna hold it against.
But beyond that, if the election was held today, unless a more progressive candidate comes up, I will definitely and happily vote for Cornell West. So he won me back over. See, I'm not a monster. Even if I hate your guts, if you just get your shit together, I'm back on your side. That's all. Yeah, I'm back on your side. Garland Nixon for president. Who is that? He better get his name recognition out there. He better do a sit down with Cardi B. Like, didn't Biden sit with Cardi B?
Man, I want to sit with Cardi B. But old Cardi B. Not new Cardi B. Old Cardi B.
What Cardi B can't do nothing for me.
Shit.
I don't like when non-black people use the N-word.
I mean, I get you, but
Yeah, Cornell West was denied tenure, and I remember.
Yeah, but he went like across the street to Princeton though. Like it ain't like he like left. And I say this all the time about any of them folks that's at them schools. Go Jack State. Go to Howard.
Ole Miss.
Go to Valley. Go to, you know what I'm saying? Like,
so they can fly at all the student rallies and all the student events. You can see the Confederate flag waving.
Listen, bro, I ain't go to
Confederate flag.
I went Jack State. I ain't seen no Confederate flags on my campus.
I thought you said Ole Miss.
No, I said go to Jackson State.
Oh,
go to Howard.
I guess I just hear what I want to hear.
Go to Valley. You do. I mean, that's why I don't even be arguing with you. But like, and I think Jared's criticisms of HBCUs are valid, right? Like, I think those are very fair and valid criticisms. I also think that take the institution over. Go to Tougaloo. You know, like, and if you're not doing that stuff, then like I ain't really trying to talk to you about it. So
Cardi B is Afro-Rican. Some bullshit.
Hey,
bullshit. And
hey,
even
bro,
if you Afro-Rican.
Listen, bro.
Man.
Listen, bro. We just go to
Y'all
the
play
next
too
thing.
much.
I ain't gonna stand for no.
I didn't know you was a Cardi B fan.
But Callus, something like that. But Callus, man, yeah,
I can't get with it. I remember when I was in New
old,
York.
but old Cardi B though. Like she done too much stuff now, but like old Cardi B before all that stuff.
I guess, man. I ain't with Puerto Ricans. Let me just leave it alone. And then somebody's out here putting out all Cornell's dirty laundry. We got to put that on the shelf and get this election.
Yikes!
Is Afro Man running for president?
He's still making bad songs about the police.
That was funny as hell,
bro.
That was funny as hell. But anyway, yes, as of now, I would definitely gladly vote for Cornel West because we don't vote for politicians, we vote for platforms. And he does have a very progressive platform. And to be honest, he's always had relatively progressive, if not overly liberal and integrationist, but in terms of political policies, I think he would be a very well suited. I think if Cornel was elected president, he'd be what y'all thought Obama was. He'd actually be
agree.
what y'all thought Obama was.
I absolutely agree.
So, but yeah, I do have my issues and criticisms, but you know, he's a complex figure. I used to be mad as hell because, you know, he attacked Dr. Clark and Dr. Ben. He attacked Professor William Mackey on behalf of white folks and was trying to suggest that they were anti-Semitic and that they were pseudo-scholars. And he got the, forget about his wife, that business. I mean, he got the United African Movement kicked out of the slave theater and kicked out of Brooklyn. And they had to go up to Harlem. And so I used to be able to just walk down to Franklin Avenue to go to the UAM events. And I had to get on the damn 2 train and transfer to the A to get all the way up to Harlem to go to the events because of Cornell. Oh, I used to be mad at Cornell. But that was then. Like I said, you know, around 2008, 2009, I warmed up. I warmed my heart. So, I'm not rigid. All these brainy men with the trash love lives from Einstein to West. I guess, man. Just y'all listen. Everybody, man. Let me tell you this: people are primates. Let's just leave it at that. We got language, we got technology, but human beings are bipedal primates. I think that will help you understand. Everybody talking about that. Nicki Minaj had skills. What are you talking about? My itty bitty piggy?
Yeah. I'm good.
I don't know. Itty bitty piggy. I heard those freestyles before she got put on. And I was not that impressed. Okay, it's 8:59. We wrap up at 9. So get your final question in. Again, shout out to everyone who made contributions. Any final words on anti-Black? Is there any chance of us ever turning hip-hop around and making it a true revolutionary art form?
No. Short answer, no.
So what should we do with hip-hop?
Kill it. Let it die.
But you are a rapper. What are you talking about?
Kill it. Let it die.
Bothers me.
What's that?
There is, I would say, as much progressive, revolutionary, and conscious hip-hop around now as it was in the golden era. It's just Nobody pays it attention. And I see people complain about hip-hop, but I don't see them giving the love and support to conscious artists.
They don't. And ultimately, I don't think the key is buying my records as much as I think the key
A part
is,
of it.
Yeah. Listen, I don't think the key is buying my records. I definitely think it's a part of it. I think the more important thing is to not buy the other records.
Stop supporting. Yes, indeed.
Whether you buy my record or not, you know, impacts me, but it does not impact us. But supporting that foolishness is what's is real.
Yeah. And I don't think just not buying records. I think we got to hold these people to account, man.
I definitely agree with that.
But they act out here acting like Too Short is an elder statesman. They out here acting like Snoop Doggy Dogg got nothing to answer for.
They owe me in now.
Yeah. And what really makes me sick is people like Jay-Z now trying to condemn the young rappers as if as if these young degenerate murder music rappers aren't their bastard offspring that they paved the way for. So I really do think that but then I think black people, we have to elevate our racial esteem. You know,
I say all the
I like
time,
the black
we just
people
need
say
some pride. We just need some
we need
pride.
Yeah. So I know personally, you know, I don't do disrespect. I don't give any artist, you know, anytime I find myself a progressive conscious artist, you know, I try to get behind them or stick beside them.
Some of these dudes lames though.
Who?
You gotta hold them to the light.
Yeah, and they let me down. That revolutionary but gangster shit broke my heart. I love the album. I got the album. I listened to the album, but that revolutionary but gangster shit.
Boy. You gotta hold it.
You think
up to
Tupac
the light.
was a conscious artist?
Absolutely not. You gotta hold it up to the light. Part of the problem is these dudes just be rhyming words. Like they don't really stand on that stuff they be talking about.
Substance. Style over substance.
And one of my mentors told me something when I was complaining about, you know, like the lack of run that I was getting. You know, we were on the phone and he said, Skipp, I think you don't realize that people hear the things that you say and they really believe that you believe that. And there's a consequence for that. Amir Baraka told me the same thing. And so I won because I lost. You know?
I guess, but yeah. I think hip hop, I came up on hip hop. I'm still a fan of hip hop. And fortunately, like I said, I'm definitely not looking forward to the ultimate demise of hip hop, but I'm sure enough going to the Jungle Brothers concert, you know, and every time Wise Intelligent drops a track, and I even still check for KRS-One, even though every chance he get, KRS-One breaks my heart, kicks me in the teeth, but I still am a big fan. Dead Prez, yeah, Dead Prez is. I don't know if Dead Prez is. Let's not talk about Dead Prez. Shout out to Dead Prez.
What up, Matulu? What up, Matulu? What up, Mike Flo?
Is that dude? Any room left for him to get more tattoos?
Oh no, that's my guy, man. Mike Flo is one of the best human beings I've ever met.
Oh yeah. Yeah, every time I'd be like, okay, that's it. No more tattoos. He finds a new place.
And what's crazy about Mike Flo, and it's something I love about him,
is that he's a Chicago cat.
Yeah, nah.
He ain't no Southerner.
Yeah. He is super kind and interesting. Like he's just a really good guy.
Is he though?
Yeah, he's a really good guy.
Yeah. Shout out to Dead Prez too. I appreciate them cats, but I even though I don't agree with I'm sympathetic to their efforts with the revolutionary but gangster thing, but I think that was a severe miscalculation. But we got some good music out of it.
Malcolm Garvey, Huey, I'm reporting in for duty. Sticky Icky, yours truly here for duty. Yeah, man, that was some tough rapping right there.
It's nice, man. They nice with it.
We can do this
They
like
nice.
plan to go to war like the Apaches. Like, man, like
It's nice with it.
shout out to Mike Flo. If y'all can get Mike Flo to this, Mike Flo, hit my line, bro. I miss you, bro. Hit me up.
Mike, P a group that done down. You know, Chuck D. When Colin Powell died, Chuck D posted on his Instagram a picture of Colin Powell and was like, "Rest in peace, Colin Powell, a great black man," just gushing over Colin Powell.
No, he's better.
Just man, every time, like I said, all these dudes I look up to.
Hey, bro. Again,
just be breaking my heart. That's why I'm gonna have to get off.
A southern thing, man. You ain't got nothing nice to say.
Say something nasty.
You ain't got nothing nice to say, man. So I just
say something nasty. If you ain't got nothing nice to say something
look,
nasty.
This the other thing I'll say about me, and I mean this sincerely. I don't act like the internet is not a public place. And I ain't hiding from nothing I say, but I don't act like the internet is not a public place. So
it is a public place, and I'm just saying you got to call it out.
And all I'm saying
icon
is,
status.
Listen, and all I'm saying to you is, I ain't saying nothing.
All right, I'll say it. I'd say it to him. Like, why? I said that to Chuck D. Like, why in the world would you make a dedication to Colin Powell? I think Stickman from Dead Prez did it too. I mean, you can't just cheer for every black person that gets a good job and a title. I know. What's that girl's name? I'm rooting for everybody black.
That's not how none of this work. That is not an intelligent position to take. I'm not rooting for everybody black. Again, to be black is necessary, but it is not sufficient. I ain't.
Let's leave it on a positive note.
What's up?
What is your maybe top 2 hip hop album? Issa Rae. Yeah, I was thinking of Issa Rae. What are your top 2 if you wanted to recommend to a person who's not into hip hop, never been into hip hop?
I think this is really funny. Let's Get Free. And
see, that's why I didn't say top 5.
5 would be a lot easier than 2, but Let's Get Free. Oh, and Miles Garvey.
I'm glad you said your own album. That's what I was about to say, man.
Let's Get Free.
That's a good one.
Miles Garvey.
If someone asked me, like, what are 2? Like, I'm new to hip hop. One I would say is New World Order by Poor Righteous Teachers, because it's like a posse cut. You know, they got KRS-One on there, the wickedest combination in the world. They got a track with the Fugees, so they got a lot of features on there, and I didn't know it at the time. It's kind of like a swan song for hip hop. So I would say that, and it's kind of hard to pick one, but another one is probably Edutainment, because it's kind of like the quintessential conscious hip hop rap album. So New World Order by Poor Righteous Teachers. Rest in peace to Father Shaheed. And shout out to Culture Freedom. And shout out to Wise Intelligent. New World Order. I think people slept on that album, and I if I'm not right, I try to pretend like I'm a super fan, but I should know this. But I think it is the last like full length Poor Righteous Teacher album. So New World Order, and what I say, edutainment. Yeah, because even though that's not the last, but Boogie Down Production. I would like to say My Philosophy, and by all means necessary, in that track My Philosophy, but I think edutainment is probably more easy to digest for a newcomer. So those would probably be the top two. It would be easier with the top five, but definitely you got some dope ones with Miles Garvey. Check out Miles Garvey. So with that, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. My brother Skipp Coon. Are you coming over to Atlanta?
Nope. Dad
No?
teams. Nah, I got dad teams.
But you know they got like a lot of mega churches. Some of the biggest concentration of mega churches in the country are in Atlanta, Georgia.
That's cool. I would never go to one.
I'm trying to entice you.
Yeah, that's a terrible thing. That's a terrible way. Like that is one of the worst. That's like saying I would bait this trap.
Man, ain't no such thing as halfway Christians.
Yeah, no, that's not it. So,
Okay,
yeah.
so go ahead and send us out on a prayer, and I'll see you week after next.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you for friendship. Thank you for work. Thank you for love. Thank you for patience. Thank you for the willingness to stand and be in the gap for those that have not. We love you and thank you. We appreciate you. Amen.
All right, Amun. And so we'll see y'all next Rational Radical show on June 21st. Will be the next Rational Radical show. Oh, I will be in Atlanta. I'll be broadcasting. We'll both be in the dirty.
So, no, you won't.
The next,
you won't be in the.
We will both be in the dirty. But I will be broadcasting from Atlanta, so I'm gonna have.
You'll be what time?
Grill.
What time is it in Atlanta right now? What time is it in Atlanta right now?
I'm gonna have.
When I get out the plane,
you're talking longitude. I'm talking latitude. I'm gonna have grill. I'm gonna have two girls.
You on the East Coast, bro.
Twerking in the background. I'm gonna have a big body drop top.
Hey,
I'm gonna have a tricked out 98 O's. So I'm gonna be practicing. So I guess next a Rational Radical show, I will be broadcasting from the dirty.
You will not. So you will not be in the dirty.
Yes, I will.
You will not be in the dirty.
Yes, that's the dirty.
It absolutely is not.
I look forward to it. Maybe I some Southern hospitality. I have a big plate of chitlins in front of me and some big body Southern girls twerking in the background. Oh, I can't wait. That's gonna be fun. I ain't gonna have on no cardigan.
Yeah,
what y'all wearing? What's hot down there?
I got on the black.
I have me a Budweiser t-shirt with the sleeves cut off and some overalls. What y'all flexing down there?
I got on the black t-shirt.
I gotta have a chain. Have my chain hang low. Oh, I gotta have a big white tee. I have a 6X, a 7X white t-shirt on. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna really get into this. From the dirty to dirty.
You definitely are not. You are in Atlanta. You're not in the South.
Atlanta.
It's not though.
Atlanta's the South.
Absolutely.
What did 3 Stacks say? South got something to say.
And he was right.
Right.
But that Atlanta don't exist no more.
Well. Oh, so now you're saying, okay, whatever. I'll be broadcasting from Wakanda, according to T.I.
Yeah, see, you can do that.
I'm looking forward to it. So 21st, I'll be in Atlanta. We're going to have our next Rational Radicals broadcast. Thank you for everybody to contribute. Thank you for our outward prayer. And be well until then, y'all.
Right on.
Peace.